This video is all about getting you to become a better, smoother, and faster dirt bike trail rider. What's up guys, I'm Dakota Freeman and welcome to the Rad Adventure Dude channel. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, go ahead and hit that and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future dirt bike riding tips. Getting faster at trail riding is all about becoming a smoother rider. And to be a smoother rider, you always want to be standing up. Being able to stand up and wheelie through obstacles is going to be huge to making you a faster and smoother dirt bike trail rider. And once we're going faster through the trails, we really want to focus on our braking. This way we can outbrake our competition. When learning how to ride faster on our dirt bikes, you're soon going to see that it's all about just becoming a smoother dirt bike rider. Being able to stand up on the dirt bike and keep our upper body still while we're going through these rough trails is going to be a very important step to becoming a better dirt bike rider. We want to focus on using our lower body to absorb the impact of the dirt bike and to keep our upper body as smooth as possible. When you watch really good riders riding on their dirt bikes, their head will not even bob and weave as they're hitting huge jumps and going through big whoop sections. And being able to stand up like this is going to be huge to making sure that you can ride for long durations of time. Being able to stand up and let the bike absorb the impact and not let it affect your body is going to be how you can actually stay riding your dirt bike all day long. So let's learn how to stand the proper way on our dirt bikes. When we're standing on our dirt bikes, we're always going to be on the balls of our feet. The balls of our feet are located right behind our toes but in front of the arch. This gives us great articulation out of our ankles while we're standing on the dirt bike and gives us good placement to be able to get to the gear shifter if we need to, but we're not accidentally hitting any of these controls down at our feet. While we're standing on the balls of our feet, it's very important that we grip with our lower body. So gripping with your ankles and your knees, this is actually very important if we hit something unexpected on the trail. If the bike gets all bucked around, we want to make sure that we're gripping with our knees so that way we can be able to save it if this happens. The next thing I want to cover is while we're standing up on our dirt bikes, if you can wheelie through an obstacle that you would have to slow down to go through, can really make you a much faster rider. Being able to stand up and get your front wheel through rough sections of tracks and trails without it actually hitting every single bump is going to be so important to becoming faster and smoother on your dirt bike. The way that we go about this is actually going to be to get our weight a little bit farther back on the dirt bike and to be able to use the throttle and actually pick the front wheel up. If you're coming into a whoop section or just riding a rough trail, this is how you're really going to get through rough areas of the tracks and trails much faster. As your weight's a little bit further back and you just apply a little bit of throttle, you can simply pick the front wheel up and be able to wheelie through these obstacles. The reason this speeds you up so much is because the front of your bike, where you're gripping the dirt bike, is going to be much smoother. Instead of hitting every single bump, you're now going to just be gliding and hitting every other bump, smoothing these tracks and trails out and putting the abuse of these trails into the rear end of the dirt bike and keeping your handlebars nice and smooth will actually increase the way that you can keep your upper body smooth when you're riding on your dirt bike. And this may seem complicated at first, but as you just continue to ride, you're going to actually see how this improves your riding and it's going to make it much more comfortable when you're riding. This is going to be very important when we're riding rough tracks and trails, and this is going to be how we stay the smoothest on the dirt bike to become the best rider possible. These tips are really going to improve your dirt bike trail riding, and you really need to practice it over time. This isn't something that's going to come the first day on the bike, but as you apply this to your riding and practice it, soon you will no longer even have to think about it. So as your upper body's staying nice and smooth now, you can actually focus more on what's coming up on the trail. So always looking ahead down the trail so you know what's coming at you is going to be huge for you to anticipate any bumps or obstacles along the way. You never want to find yourself looking down at the front wheel. You really want to focus on keeping your eyes up and looking down the trail and then memorizing what's coming at you to where you can avoid it out of your peripheral vision. When you're looking down at your wheel, you can actually get caught off guard by things that are on the trail, and this is not what we want to happen. So make sure that you keep your eyes up and make sure you focus down on the trail and see what's coming at you. The next thing we really want to focus on is going to be our braking when we're out on the tracks and trails. Being able to brake the dirt bike faster and more effectively is really going to speed up your time when you're riding on the trails. And now you're going to actually be able to use your brakes to be able to outbrake the competition when we're out on the trails. And these trails are going to be narrow and you're not going to be able to see very far ahead, and turns and corners can sneak up on you quickly. So sometimes you need to be prepared and be able to lock on the brakes to actually stop the bike as fast as possible. And when we're braking in this kind of aggressive manner, 90% of our braking is going to come from our front brake. This is because when we're stopping the dirt bike, our front wheel is going to have all the weight from our body and the dirt bike on it, giving it more traction than the rear wheel. So being able to lock on your front brake is going to be huge to being able to actually bring the bike to a stop the fastest way possible. Being able to combine using the front brake, the rear brake, and shifting down is going to be how you use the bike to stop the fastest. When you are using all these controls to bring the bike to a stop, it's going to give your bike a ton more traction in the wheels using the motor, and your front wheel is going to be locked up and really stopping the bike in the fastest way possible. Whenever we are using the front brake in this aggressive manner, we do want to use caution because we can actually lock the front wheel up and it will throw you to the ground. So always make sure that your elbows are up and you're kind of braced for the amount of force that's coming through your handlebars when you're locking up the front wheel like this. And as you do this over time, you're going to develop a sense on how much you really want to grab the front brake. But as long as you keep your front wheel pointed straight, you can put on as much front brake as you need to. When we're using our brakes in this kind of manner, we also want to make sure that we're standing up. When we're standing up and using our brakes, it's going to want to push our weight forward. So we can actually compensate for this and anticipate it by shifting our weight back on the dirt bike. And when we lean a little bit further back on the dirt bike, this is going to make sure that when we're using our front brake in this aggressive way, we don't do any accidental stoppies and keep our back wheel on the ground. The next thing we can do to slow our bike down the fastest way possible is when we're dragging the back brake, we want to make sure that we're not just sliding the back wheel. When the back wheel slides, you have no traction with the back wheel and it's not speeding you up or slowing you down. We want to focus on keeping our back brake engaged and actually bringing the bike to a stop. So are you feeling like you can ride smoother and brake more efficiently? Well, make sure you like this video and drop a rad down in the comments below. You can also ask me any other questions that you have. The next way that we can become faster on the tracks and trails is to focus on keeping our momentum up and to be in the right gear. It is important when we're riding tracks and trails and wanting to become a faster rider that we're focusing on being able to keep our front end light and being able to wheelie through obstacles. As we do this, we're naturally going to keep our momentum higher as we're going faster on the tracks and trails. As we're doing this and we're gaining more momentum on the tracks and trails, we still want to focus on keeping our body nice and smooth on the bike and that we grip with our lower body. We never really want our front ends to get hit really hard by any bumps on the trail, and this is where it's important to be able to pick the front wheel up and to be able to skim over these obstacles. Then if we're coming up on like a big hill on a track or trail, we want to focus on gaining speed before we get to the hill. This way we have plenty of momentum to help us get all the way to the top of the hill. If we're going up a big hill and we're losing momentum and we almost feel like the bike is starting to lose power, we really want to make sure to shift down and get in a lower gear. This lower gear is going to give you more acceleration and really be able to help you drive to the top of this hill. As you're coming into a corner, you're going to already want to be slowing the bike down. And as you're slowing down, you're going to want to shift down in the gears. As you're shifting down in the gears, this just helps you slow the bike down. But also, whenever you're coming out of the corner, this is going to give you plenty of acceleration to be able to really drive out of the corners. So using our gears in the corners is going to be very important as well. And getting in the right gear as we're coming into the corner, so that way when we're exiting the corner, we're already in the right gear to just hammer on the throttle. And you're really going to develop a good sense about all these gears the more and more you practice this over time. Another thing that we see when we're out on the trails is a lot of river crossings. And being in the right gear whenever you hit these river crossings is going to be very important to making sure that you can get through the entire river crossing without having to shift gears or do anything else on the bike. So when you hit these river crossings, a lot of the times the water gets splashed everywhere. And it's hard when you're going through the rivers to actually shift our gears. So when we're coming into a river crossing, we want to make sure we're already in the right gear and have plenty of power and acceleration and speed out of the gear to get through the river crossing without having to shift again. Sometimes if I'm really trying to go fast out on the tracks and trails, I'll even come into these river crossings with my front wheel off the ground and wheelie into it, if not all the way across the river crossing. This is just going to make sure my front wheel doesn't get hit by any rocks that are underneath the water and bump me on the trail. So now you know how to go faster when you're out on the tracks and trails. Make sure you use these tips to improve your dirt bike riding and become a much faster dirt bike trail rider. Are you still looking for more tips? Well, I'm always here. I've created a full dirt bike riding course that'll walk you through being a complete beginner and take you all the way to an advanced rider mastering the tracks and trails. If this video helped you and you became a faster dirt bike trail rider, make sure you like this video and drop some comments down below. You can also ask me any other questions that you have. Make sure you click the subscribe button that's right here and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future dirt bike riding tips. After that, you can watch my next video on everything a dirt bike beginner needs to know right here. So go ahead and click on it and I'll see you guys over there.